fellow content creator talked about this old article a few days ago. It's called Abusive Men Describe the Benefits of Violence. And yes, there are some benefits that they are getting from violence. That's the reason why they continue to do it. Before we get into the article, we have got to remember that women are literally looked at as a thing. We are dehumanized to the point where we are just subject to getting rid of. And you hear this as they talk about, trading up and she has mileage. They talk about us in terms of service to them. Being born with a uterus means that we are born to serve them. So when I talk about things, we're talking about things in the terms of being a wife appliance. Not only just a wife appliance, but a bang maid. We were literally put here to be of service to one of these people. So keep that in mind as we talk about this article. Now, this man, Chuck Derry, this is what he says. He says, for many years, I facilitated court mandated groups for men who batter. In the early 80s, we were concentrating on healthy relationship building skills, emotional identification and self control, and anger management, among other related issues. Then battered women in Duluth, Minnesota began gathering to discuss the impact of the violence on their lives. What emerged was that the men who beat them not only physically assaulted them, but also controlled where they went, who they talked to, what they wore, where they worked, if they worked, how the money was spent, when, with whom, and how they had X, how the kids were raised, how the domestic labor was split in the household. You get the picture. Basically, the men got to control the women to get what the men wanted. And the threat and use of violence was the bottom line that ensured it would happen. He says, now I was training men in weekly groups at the time to use assertiveness when in conflict with their wives or girlfriends, teaching them how to access and express their feelings appropriately. Then I would send them home to practice. The next week, they would come back and report their new assertiveness skills weren't working. I asked them why, and they would say, because she still did A, B, C, and D and would not do E, F, and G, which is what he wanted. I began then to slowly understand that I was teaching men multiple personal life skills, and they were simply using those skills in attempts to control women even more effectively. So, what was the point? Why were they so invested in controlling and abusive behavior? And he says that he then just asked, what were the benefits of their violence? He says that they all just kind of looked around, and that's important. They kind of looked around, and then after a while, they admitted some of the reasons or some of the benefits that they get out of using these control mechanisms and what they get out of violence. He says, here is the list of benefits they cited until we ran out of space. We are going to talk about these benefits, but understand in the patriarchy, these men were promised a wife appliance, and they thought that they were going to get their wife, their home cooked meal, their children that they could show off and get respect for because they have a family in the home. They thought that they were going to get all of this. And instead of being just a good, decent partner and a supportive human and loving their families, they are using these control tactics because they won't do the be the better person and just, have some vulnerability and some emotional intelligence and some stability and all that. No, they have to use dominance and oppression because in the patriarchy, supposedly feelings and emotion are in the realm of the woman. So they have to use these strong arm tactics to keep their wife appliance from actually having some humanity and running off. So here are some of the benefits that the men stated. She's scared and won't go out and spend money. She gets out the way. He gets to go out. Respect. They really think that fear and respect are the same thing. She won't argue. She will be a good little wife appliance and just do her duty and serve. He gets the feeling of superiority. She's accountable to me in terms of being somewhere on time. I decide. He's in control. He gets to lord over her. He is the demigod. It keeps the relationship going. She's too scared to leave. So once again, fear. Get the money, get X. Total control in decision making. They literally believe that they are demigods. They get to use the money however they want, even for drugs. Don't have to change for her. So he can be whatever kind of human he wants to be. Power. They want to lord over women. to decide where to go as a couple, who to see, what to wear, control the children. If she's late, she won't be again because there's that fear factor. Intimidation. She's scared and can't confront me, can convince her she's screwing up. She feels less worthy, so defers to my needs and wants. She will look up to me and accept my decisions without argument. Decide her social life, what she wears, so you can keep your image by how she acts. She's to blame for battering. She's an object. I get a robot babysitter made X food. He gets all of that. There are so many benefits that they get. They really don't want human women. They want something to control, like a doll that performs, and they get all of this. The Bang Maid, ego booster. She tells me I'm great. Bragging rights. If she works, I get her money. So now we're going into the pimpocracy of things. He is basically pimping out his woman. Get her to quit her job so I can take care, and so she can take care of the house. So he has full access to his bang maid when he wants to. Isolate her so her friends can't confront me. This is a tactic that they have been using for so long, isolating women from their friends and family so that they have total control. Decide how money is spent. I'm the breadwinner, and since if he has isolated her and gotten her to quit her job, and this is the reason why I talk about trad wives so much, if you have no control over making any money and any decisions, and you're isolated, you simply have to do their to perform these indentured servant activities. Your survival is wrapped up in being of service to him and being available to him. Buy the toys I want, take time for myself. She has to depend on me if I break her stuff. I get to know everything. She's a nursemaid. She comforts me. So this woman is his happiness machine, his wife appliance. Supper is on the table, so he gets the food when he wants. Invite friends over without her knowing equals more work for her, but who cares because she's the servant. No compromise equals more freedom. Don't have to listen to her complaints for not letting her know stuff. And this is where the whole nagging thing comes in, because if she were to just talk about things that she needs or wants, is considered nagging. But now that women are becoming more financially free and having more money, they can just bounce. And that's the reason why so many of these people are blindsided when women decide to up and leave. Ooh, but this one down here, she works for me. This is a relationship. This is not a business. And these days, a lot of times when you hear men talk, they talk about, well, would you say that to your boss? Because some of these people literally do see these types of relationships as a boss employee type of thing. And the woman is the employee and is supposed to be entertaining and servicing and doing all of the things that the man says to do. Determine what values the kids have, who they play with, what's they get to control everything about the kids. But right here it says dictate reality. This is They are masters at gaslighting and doing Darvo. Like if there is a situation that he did and he could just turn it around and make it like he's the victim and she just doesn't understand. He gets to dictate reality and they know what they are doing. Now this is the page I wanted to get to. Don't have to listen to her wishes, complaints, angers, fears, because you're not human as a woman. You do not get to have autonomy, accomplishments, goals, anything like that, because you're not human. You're literally there to service them. But you know how they use these negging tactics and trying to knock down your self-esteem and these pranks that have you questioning reality. They do that on purpose. Convince her she's nuts. Convince her she's unattractive. Convince her she's to blame. Convince her she's the problem. I can dump on her. All of this is to pull your self-esteem down so that they can just control your every move. They do this on purpose and they know what they're doing. And it's all to get down to this very last thing on this page. I'm the king of the castle. They really think that they literally have no power in the outside world. So they get to come home and lord over their wife appliance. And what is happening these days is women have the opportunity and the wherewithal and the finances to just bounce. And this is what is causing these men to fail and flail currently, because women are saying, get someone else to do it. And the birth rate and the marriage rates are showing that they are not putting up with this. Join the conversation.